Since the earliest days of Russia's invasion, Ukraine has faced a punishing truth. The skies have belonged to Moscow. Russia's much larger, more modern air fleet has dominated Ukrainian airspace, especially along the front lines where Su-34 strike bombers have relentlessly dropped thousands of devastating FAB glide bombs. With Ukraine's stock of Soviet-era jets dwindling and its air bases constantly targeted, the country's air force has spent most of the war fighting from a defensive crouch. Now, for the first time, that dynamic might be on the brink of a historic reversal, all because of a single document signed in Sweden. A letter with massive consequences. On October 22, 2025, Ukraine and Sweden signed a sweeping letter of intent that could see Kyiv receive between 100 and 150 Gripen E series fighter jets. Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson declared that this commitment would give Ukraine a very serious air force, and for good reason. Unlike the limited numbers of F-16 and Mirage jets slowly trickling into Ukraine, the Gripen is not just another NATO fighter. It is arguably the fighter that Ukraine should have had from day one. A jet engineered specifically to fight in environments full of Russian missiles, broken runways, and rapidly changing frontline conditions. What Sweden is offering is not simply aircraft. It is a blueprint for an entirely new way of fighting the air war over Ukraine. An air force on the edge. Before the war, Ukraine had roughly 120 combat-ready aircraft, mostly aging Soviet designs like the MiG-29, Su-27, Su-24, and Su-25. By the end of 2024, around 100 had been destroyed, leaving only a fractured handful still flying. Russia, too, has suffered heavy losses, with more than 130 fixed-wing aircraft and 146 helicopters confirmed destroyed. But unlike Ukraine, Russia can replace many of its losses thanks to a steady annual production rate of up to 49 jets. Ukraine has no such capacity. Its only path to rebuilding a capable air force is through Western support. The earlier announcements of F-16 and Mirage 2000Fs raised hopes that Ukraine could regain some control over its skies. Yet real deliveries have been slow and limited. Ukraine has received only a handful of F-16s so far, with several already lost in combat. The Mirage jets from France are helpful, but too few in number to alter the overall balance. Most importantly, these aircraft have not been fully deployed in frontline combat because Ukraine lacks the infrastructure to keep them safe. Instead, they have been used mostly for defensive missions, intercepting missiles and drones attacking Ukrainian cities. Why Ukraine's airfields are a death trap. The heart of Ukraine's aviation problem is not just a shortage of jets, it is a shortage of safe places to put them. Nearly all Ukrainian air bases were inherited from the Soviet Union. Their locations, layouts, runway lengths, and vulnerabilities are well known to Russian planners. From the opening hours of the war, Russia has targeted these airfields with relentless waves of missiles, forcing Ukraine to disperse its remaining jets across small, improvised sites. This has created major obstacles for Western fighters. The F-16, for instance, needs long, clean, well-maintained runways. Its large engine intake sits low, making it highly vulnerable to foreign object debris such as rocks, broken pavement, or dirt. Exactly what you find on most of Ukraine's improvised strips. Running these jets from rough surfaces dramatically increases the risk of catastrophic engine failure. Even resurfacing runways is dangerous because Russia's satellites would detect the activity instantly, marking them as priority targets. The Mirage 2000F is somewhat more flexible, but still not designed for the rugged hit-and-run airbase tactics that Ukraine relies on. Ukraine needed a fighter that could take off from short, rough, hidden strips of pavement and not fall apart in the process. That aircraft already existed, just not in Ukraine. Gripen, designed for this exact war. In the 1980s, Sweden anticipated a nightmare scenario, a massive Soviet strike that would destroy every major airbase in the country. To survive that possibility, Swedish engineers created a fighter that could operate from short stretches of highway, refuel in minutes using mobile teams, and take off again long before enemy bombers could strike. This became the foundation of Sweden's BAS-90 system, a dispersed network of improvised mini airfields designed to make the Swedish Air Force impossible to eradicate in a first strike. The Gripen was built for this environment. Its landing gear is taller and sturdier than that of the F-16, giving it more clearance above debris. Its canards act as powerful air brakes, allowing takeoffs and landings on runways as short as 1,650 feet. This makes it perfectly suited for Ukraine's current strategy of using hidden, rapidly shifting airstrips to keep jets alive. While the Gripen does not include the MiG-29's automatic anti-FOD doors, it is robust enough to operate from rugged surfaces that would leave other Western fighters in pieces. More than tough, it's deadly. The Gripen E is a fourth++ generation fighter with the agility, speed, and advanced avionics needed to compete with Russia's most capable jets. The aircraft can reach Mach 2 and supercruise above Mach 1 without using afterburners, giving it both speed and fuel efficiency. Its combat radius approaches 930 miles, and with external fuel tanks, it can be ferried almost 2,500 miles. The Gripen's weapon suite is one of its biggest advantages for Ukraine. It can carry the fearsome Meteor missile, a long-range, high-speed air-to-air weapon capable of engaging targets nearly 186 miles away at speeds over Mach 4. This missile is considered one of the most dangerous long-range weapons in the world and could finally challenge Russia's glide bombing campaign. The Gripen can also deploy advanced medium-range air-to-air missile, sidewinders, IRIS-Ts, precision-guided bombs, anti-ship missiles, and Maverick missiles, enabling a variety of missions from air defense to ground attack. Its radar, electronic warfare systems, and sensor fusion capabilities rival many fifth-generation fighters. With its advanced ASA radar, infrared search and track, electronic jamming suite, and modern data links, the Gripen provides pilots with situational awareness that Russia's older jets cannot easily match. The financial mountain ahead. The biggest question surrounding the deal is not technical, it is financial. A single Gripen E costs between $85 million and $138 million. At the low end, 100 jets would cost $8.5 billion. At the high end, $138 million. 150 jets could cost almost $13 billion. For a nation whose economy has been shattered by war, that is an enormous bill. Ukraine's budget deficit remains above 21% of GDP and is expected to remain extremely high for years. The country is dependent on foreign aid to pay government salaries, pensions, and most military costs. Its credit rating has been cut to restricted or selective default, making new borrowing extremely difficult. Even before considering the Gripen purchase, Ukraine requires around $390 billion in Western financial support through 2028, just to sustain its war effort and economy. European nations are also under strain, with slowing growth and rising domestic pressures. The only major potential source of new funding is the enormous pool of frozen Russian assets held in European banks. However, the EU remains divided over whether they can legally be seized. Until that debate is resolved, Ukraine has no clear path to paying for a 150-jet air force. And that's the full video of how Sweden's Gripen could become the fighter jet that completely rewrites Ukraine's future in the sky. If you want to stay ahead of the news, make sure you hit that like and smash subscribe. Thanks for watching, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.